Hey everyone, Alex here from ornamentdesigns.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to draw lines on a smooth foam ball that doesn't have any factory markings on it. So it's pretty easy. You'll just need a few tools. The first thing that you'll need is some graph paper. If you don't have any graph paper, don't worry about running to the store and buying some. All you have to do is print some out off the internet. If you have access to a computer and you have access to a printer, just Google printable graph paper and you can just print a sheet of graph paper out. And the reason why we need some graph paper is because we're going to cut some paper strips like this. And the graph paper is nice because it has those nice straight lines. And the graph paper, you can get it like centimeter squares on the graph paper. That should be sufficient. Of course, we need to cut out our strips of paper, so you can just use some scissors if you have a really steady hand, or if you're like me and can't cut a straight line to save her life, then you can use a paper cutter like this. I'm a teacher. I use this for making worksheets. I'm also a scrapbooker in my spare time when I'm not making Christmas ornaments, which is like 1 month out of the whole year. But and I use this for scrapbooking too. If you want to go out and buy one of these, they're pretty cheap and they're very useful, and they're usually with all of the scrapbooking stuff at the craft store. So let's see, what else do we need? You'll need a marker, like a Sharpie. This isn't exactly a Sharpie. It's the closest thing I could find here in Japan. And it's nice because it has two ends on it. It has a thick end on it, and it has a very fine tip point on the other end. And that's really nice for marking the foam ball. Make sure you get a pen that is that's not going to smear, that dries fast. Okay, let's see, what else do we need? The next thing you'll need are 4 straight pins, like that. Oh, come on. Can't hold on to, why can't I get my fingers around them? Okay. All right, so you'll need some 4 straight pins like this. It doesn't matter what they look like. Any straight pins will do. Just make sure they're at least about 1 inch long. Anything shorter might be too difficult to work with, so straight pins. And finally, when you're actually drawing your lines, you'll need a tape measure. And this is like a soft plastic type tape measure. That is the best kind of tape measure to use. So I think that's all the tools we need. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we need to cut a strip of paper about 1 centimeter wide. So I'm just using some graph paper here and my scrapbooking cutter, so I can cut it nice and straight. Edges are a little bit rough, but it's not going to matter. Okay, and then let me get my foam ball. Okay, my foam ball has 2 holes at the poles, but I don't like using the part with the hole as my north and south pole because there's nothing to anchor the pin inside that hole. So I want to change where my north and south pole are, and there are no other factory markings on the this small ball that I have. So I need to make my own markings. I need to make my own north pole and south pole and my own equator. So first thing I'm going to do is decide where I want my north pole to be, and I'm going to put a pin and make a hole, and then just draw a black dot around where I put my hole. Then I'll take my strip of paper and at the very edge of the paper, pin it to that north pole. and then smooth the paper around so it's perfectly flat against the foam ball, and then snip it at the end. Some scissors, just snip it off. Oops. Let's try this again. Smooth it over. And snip it. Okay. So now we've got a strip of paper that is the same measurement as the circumference of our ball. Okay? And just check and make sure. Yep, that's a good length. All right. Now, go ahead and take that pin out and take the paper off and fold the strip of paper in half, like this. And you'll want to try to get it as exact as you can. Okay? And then unfold it and fold the ends in to the center, like this. Okay, and once you have folded both your ends in, you'll have 3 creases. Now I'm just for the sake of so you can see them easier, I'm just going to draw some black lines for you so you can see where those creases are, because otherwise it'll be difficult for you to see on the video. You can do this if you want, if it'll help you, but it's not necessary. Just as long as you can see where your 3 creases are. Okay, so, right, next you'll take your pin and pin it back to the North Pole, and then smooth it around like you did before. To where the paper strip is flat against the ball. Now, where your creases are is where your points are going to be for your South Pole and for your equator. So first I'm going to do the South Pole. Stick my pin in, make a little hole, and then draw over it with a black marker, and now I have a North Pole and a South Pole. North Pole, South Pole. Okay. Next, pin it back to the North Pole, smooth it over, pin it back to the South Pole, and then you can put a pin at the 2 leftover creases, and those are equator points. And once you've got all 4 pins in, you can start taking them out again and tracing over them with your black marker. So there is your first equator point. Take out the North Pole, take out, okay, and then there's your second equator point. Now, I've left my South Pole in, and I'm just going to turn my piece of paper about 90 degrees, and pin it back to the North Pole, Okay. And then using my other pins, make a hole again. Where the crease is, like so. And actually this lines up with those holes that were originally in my ball, so I'm just using those original holes, but you should actually make a hole with your pin. I just don't need to. Okay, and then you take out all of your pins, take your piece off, and all of your points. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points drawn on your ball. And now you can take your measuring tape and use it as a straight edge, and you can line up all of those points and draw lines in your ball. It's very easy. So let me show you. All right, this is from North Pole through an equator point down to the South Pole. And just draw your line like so. And then you can turn it, oh, actually I'm going to turn it 180 degrees just to make sure that that line all the way around is nice and straight. Okay. All right, so I've cut my ball in half here. Like so. And then you can turn it 90 degrees and divide it into fourths. Okay, so you can either leave it like that, if that's the kind of ball that you're making, or if you need to see your equator line, you can draw in your equator line just by matching up those points like that. I'll turn it over and do the other side. So it's pretty easy. I'm using a very small ball here. This is only about a 5 centimeter diameter ball. For a large ball, you'll probably want to make more equator points. You'll probably want to draw at least 6 or maybe 8 equator points. And you'll want to try to buy a ball that's as exact of a sphere as you can get. Sometimes cheaply made balls aren't a very good sphere and they're kind of lopsided. And in that case, this may not work. In that case, there's really it's really hard to get nice straight lines on a lopsided ball. So good luck in buying your balls. Try to spend a little extra money and get a better quality ball if you can. So anyway, so I hope that was helpful, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.